All right, so let's talk about living in the six, right? Toronto. And I've been noticing more and more now. I don't know if you guys are noticing on your algorithms, on your social media. There's a lot of like immigrant communities who are like posting these buyer beware videos of, I know you've been sold this dream of living in Canada. And I know we're talking about Toronto, but just about
I
in
have
Canada.
been seeing that.
And it's the dream, there's no dream here. You're basically, you're better off going back home. For whatever the problems are, it's worse here. So I've been seeing a lot more of that, and I kind of share that sentiment. However, I don't see there's not that much greener grass. So this is the problem. My wife and I, we're now, our daughter's just over a year old, and we're like, where do we actually want to live? We actually have a choice, Our parents just, randomly decide to come here for opportunity. Do we have options? And when I was doing my research, we can go back to the Middle East, but then do I really want to live in a country named after a family? That's kind of weird, right? We can go to a country where we don't know anything about the language and we're kind of starting from scratch. Our parents are not there. Our families are not there. Mm-hmm. You can go to a place with nice weather, but then there's other drawbacks like the economy or the government or so on and so forth. And then we're just stuck between living in Canada or living in the US. And that seems to be where our buck drops. I feel like as a young family, Toronto's probably is a great place. You got free healthcare. You got a lot of social safety nets. But when I'm thinking about my retirement or where I see myself when my kids are of a certain age and I'm in an empty nester, if I'm not living in a place with palm trees and decent healthcare, then I really don't know what's going on. That's my take on Toronto. I think Toronto itself is cold, heartless. Economy's bad. We pretty much have a dictator in many ways. The social safety nets don't work. I guess Toronto can. I mean, how much of our population live here? It's a decent chunk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
None of it. Shout out to you, but I don't know. I've never met. Have you guys ever met someone from none of it?
Yeah.
What?
My badass professor in my undergrad.
No way.
Oh, he was sick. He was so cool.
I've never met a Nunavutian.
So. He doesn't live in
Is
Toronto
that what they're called, Nunavutian?
I don't know. I'm just making that up. It just sounds kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
Well, look, everything's driven by cost of living, right? We were talking in the first topic about being kinder and gentler and spending more quality time. You can't do that in Toronto because you got to hustle to afford a $1.5 million house, or a $1 million
studio
townhome.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So the cost of living, and look, it's not going to get any better. It may plateau a little bit with interest rates becoming more under control, hopefully.
We all hope.
But the cost of living is going to do nothing but continue to increase, which is, to your point about you're seeing these banners.
Yeah.
I personally haven't seen them.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not surprised to hear that because a family moving here, unless, you have the accumulated wealth of multi-generations moving together to pool their wealth and afford something, good luck trying to afford something.
That's what I'm
here
saying.
especially here in the Toronto area.
Yeah, but only in Toronto will you, as a multi-generational family, will be welcome and allowed to pool your wealth together in order to have a home. If you look, Toronto is one of the most diverse cities in the world, on the planet. Coming here as an immigrant myself, as a child, I felt welcome coming to Canada and settling in Toronto. I can't see myself living anywhere else. Yes, our winters are cold, but I've been to the Middle East and their weather is boring. In Toronto, you get sunshine, you get snow, you get everything.
Well, once
diversity.
you're in your 50s and 60s, though, that becomes less of a selling point, and you want the
you
warmth.
can be a
To your
snowbird
point,
at
you
that
want the warmth.
point.
You could be a snowbird, but what do those
Yep.
snowbirds do? They drive down somewhere warm and they come back here in the summer
Yeah,
months,
that's
in the
true.
spring, because we have great healthcare. So I don't
That's
know.
right. They come back because of the healthcare.
The healthcare is good. You go to the walk-in clinic, and then they don't even. In fact, they have signs now that say one problem per visit. You guys see that?
What? Really?
One
Yeah, it
problem
used
per
to be
visit. It's a
2.
policy. It's one. I could not believe our daughter
Really?
was there, and they're like, "Sorry, we can only do one problem per visit." I'm like,
I
"That's
hate going to the
hilarious."
doctor's office. I compile all of my problems and then I'm like, here's my laundry list. Fix me.
Yeah,
I
but
can't do that
that's
anymore.
not a Toronto problem. That's a
No,
healthcare, right? That
it is
has
one
nothing
of
to do with
the-
the city in general. You want great music, great food.
Yeah.
Toronto is made up of so
Walkability,
many different
culture.
neighborhoods. So yes, the cost of living is expensive. Where isn't the cost of living expensive in North America? If
Florida.
No, there's plenty of places in the States where
if you are going
Arizona,
to
Phoenix,
get-
your
Utah,
money goes a lot
Yeah.
further.
North
And
Dakota,
I'm
South
gonna
Dakota.
tell you,
But in
as a
Canada
person
in general.
there are plenty of places in the States, but as a visible minority, they're not places I'd want to go to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Whereas in Toronto, I feel safe.
The diversity is great, and you, like you said, you like that the weather's not boring. But you know what's boring is that to pay for this cost of living. You know how I enjoy that weather, sitting on my computer because I'm working, and all I can do is look outside and be like, oh, I guess today's a nice day.
Yeah.
You know, I see my daughter. I work so much that like I get a 2-hour window where it's like, okay, my daughter's awake. We can pick her up from daycare and chill, and that's it.
Is that the hustle culture of the city, though? Is that like the
That's
Toronto
part. I'm
life
sure that's part. No,
demanding
it's not
you to
actually,
work that much?
It's demanded by like the cost of living.
Right.
Like, I could, you know, everyone could have, there's lifestyle inflation, but I'm not driving a crazy car. I am actually pretty chill. I don't buy crazy, you know, I'm not like a materialist. And even still, in order to like have a safety net, good investment portfolio, you know, be able to take care of your parents when they're aging and so on and so forth, you just, the money's kind of nuts. And honestly, for women, it's even tougher. If you're like a single mother, I honestly don't know what you like. That seems impossible to live in Toronto.
Yeah.
I
I think there are so many benefits though. Like I don't live in the city anymore. And it can be super boring. Thankfully I'm going through my like homebody phase, but when I was a downtown city girl at one point, and like I needed to do something every day of the week. I needed to go to a show. I needed to eat multiple, you know, different ethnicities throughout the day. Like I had to start off with my Indian food and end up with my sushi. And I can't get that anywhere where I live now. But I wanted to do I wanted to go to a comedy show. There's always something going on. I wanted to see my friend. I wanted to I just wanted to meet someone at a grocery store. That's an option. You don't really get that outside in like more rural areas. This is me comparing like urban and rural life. I've also lived in different cities, and I would still opt for Toronto over anywhere else that I've lived in.
Right, we're the center of the universe.
What?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that.
All right. I guess if
is
you
cool,
guys are
though.
wondering if Toronto's good, just take the TTC, go to a walk-in clinic, and you know, go to a
And
parking garage. It smells like
Okay,
pee,
but
and let me know
also
what
take
you
the
think.
TTC,
Take the TTC
to
when it's running.
the sickest,
Yeah.
the sickest restaurant. Meet really cool people. Go to an
depending
awesome
on where
show
you are
on a
downtown.
beach that
Yeah,
overlooks
you may not
the
even
lake.
need to take the TTC. It's so walkable.
You be the judge.
I've been to Atlanta for work, and I was like, oh my God, this
Yeah, you're
city-
picking. I mean, come on,
Like,
come
but,
on.
Okay, I've been to New York. I've been to California.
New York smells like pee.
Los Angeles, like
So does
There's
Toronto.
very, like-
cities in general smell like
Yeah,
pee.
Yeah.
we're not like main cities are disgusting. The suburbs can be a different conversation.
Like cities that are not in Ontario. So I've lived in Toronto. I've lived in multiple other cities in Ontario. I went to school in Halifax. So I've lived in Halifax.
So cool.
It was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. And I lived in Denver, and I lived outside of Edmonton. So Edmonton's. Oh, I
You
don't.
didn't like Denver
I love Denver.
more than Toronto?
I.
Viewers?
Ooh.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
It was beautiful, but I am Canadian, and I'll leave it at that.